Hey, what's going on? You know who it is. It is Bruce Jordan, the Michael Jordan Hotels, and today I'm in this place with my place. We got Ryan here with us. How you been, buddy? Good
Bruce,
to see you.
I've been really good. I'm glad to be here with you.
I'm glad you came. This video is sponsored by Lodge IQ, the only RMS revenue management software that the Michael Jordan Hotels recommends. So what we got going on at my place? Tell everybody how you got started in this business.
Wow, this is our 10th year of franchising. We got started in hotels about 50 years ago as a company, and my place is the current iteration. We began with a little bit of proof of concept, build a few of the models and operate them, understand them really well, and then brought them to market in 2014 for franchising. And so since then, we've grown my place as an all new construction brand we've got about 115 or so franchises out there today. There's 74 of them open and operating, and the rest of that pipeline somewhere in the development and construction process. So it's a busy time, and it's really exciting to have all of our franchisees and vendors, partners, managers, friends, and family here at the convention with us.
You started off on the construction side. Like, how did that take place? How did that work?
My grandfather was my mentor and is the chairman of our company and was involved in all things. And our organization has always been very vertically integrated. We've always had construction, development, management, core business services, engineering, architecture. I mean, run the gamut. We've got it in-house. And his advice to me or demand of me as I started my career was, you need to understand how to build one of these. You need to understand how the parts and pieces come together. You need to understand how to buy it so that you can effectively operate it. And that was very wise guidance and worked out well for me. And beyond that, I'm kind of a mechanically inclined individual anyway. I like, I started off with Legos as a kid, and now I'm using bigger Legos to put them together. So,
nice. Listen, one thing that gives my place its advantage, it's gotta be that it's built with construction in mind when it comes to costs. Like, tell me how your designs has reduced the labor costs for housekeeping.
Yeah.
We'll start with housekeeping.
Okay. I think if you boil it all back to very fundamental means and methods of both design and construction, go into, as you may have listened to the group of contractors that were on the panel yesterday and talking about the plans, how simplified they are. And what we did was we brought the contractors and we brought the operators into the design room and said, okay, the managers that we brought into the process may not have understood how to read plans as well as the contractors did, but the contractors were able to explain what they saw in a one-dimensional world on these plans and define it for them in 2D. And so the process of building efficiencies and designing for efficiencies for the operating model starts with the line drawings that produce the plans, that produce the sticks and the structure. And so when we go through our hotel, we design things for efficiency. So it's movements, it's circulation space, it's repetition. It's how can I do the same thing over and over and over again, which allows me as a builder, it allows me as a developer, it allows me as a manager, and all the way down to the housekeepers and night auditors, front desk attendants, and maintenance people. It's repetition. There's consistency throughout the design. There's not differences from one room to another, and that allows them to really capitalize on becoming proficient at every element of the housekeeping process.
One of the design flaws that I see at most hotels that I don't see at yours is the roof.
Right.
I see like these ridiculously crazy bills for the roof. I'm talking about $500,000, $750, $1 million for the roof. Like, what do you guys do to keep that expense so low?
It could be criticized a little bit in some circles, but generally we're still designing the buildings with the typical, hip and gable pitched roof, asphalt shingles, and they go on quickly. They're relatively reasonable on cost as compared to the typical rubber flat roof designs and some of the other standing seam metal and materials that you might use and means and methods that you use. But we also have taken an approach in our new prototype that we just launched here at convention incorporates that cost-effective pitched roof shingled model into an exterior aesthetic that looks like the modern and more squared lines, linear aesthetic flat roof building. And just we incorporated a few architectural elements around the roof that kind of hide that shingled roof back there, and
Nice.
but maintain the efficiencies. And so yeah, sure, we added a little cost in doing that, but not substantially, and we're still well below what a lot of our competitors' designs are in incorporating the flat rubber roof or the standing seam metal in some markets. So
Yeah, I'd rather pay a little bit more in the beginning than pay a lot more in the long run,
Right.
because the costs just get so crazy, it doesn't make any sense. Same thing with signage. Like, I noticed that you don't change your signage every 5 minutes to make a commission. Like, whose idea was that?
right, right. Well, it's consistency again, and I mean, I've had plenty of conversations with people who initially saw our sign, our logo, and said, that's a little too loud, a little too bright, you know, that's too much for me. And they said, okay, well, let it grow on you a little bit and get into understanding the model and understanding how the consumer responds to it, and see if you like it. And I think we've probably got at least a 90% conversion rate, and the other 10% I'm still working on. People that didn't like the sign that now do. But it's, for us, it's one of those things that, you know, when we implement a new product, or go all the way back to when we started My Place. When we implemented My Place and we put the design together, we selected the first few markets, we did that very intentionally to be in it and as close to it as possible, to understand how it works. And now today, as we come up with a new product or something changes about a product that we're currently speccing, and we got to make new selections. We first get it, test it, understand it before we push it out to everybody else to use. And the same thing is true with our signage. I mean, we recognize the value in the colors, we recognize the impression that it makes, we recognize how it stands out in different environments, and then we push it out there and we maintain it. It's consistent. We want people to rely on us. And I think as hoteliers, as you know, in most basic form as innkeepers, one of the core competencies of a good hotelier is to be reliable for their guests. So if we're changing things all the time, you can't rely on us.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, maintenance. I see that your maintenance costs is a lot less than the competition's. What are the key 3 things that you do to keep your maintenance costs so low?
Well, I have to qualify that by saying, you know, we have a relatively young group of properties out there. So that's been good for reliability and for sustainability. We've got new products incorporated. We're not constantly trying to fix old things. I mean, the building we're in here has got to be 40 years old or so at this resort. Great building, but you can see the maintenance that goes on in order to keep this thing up just purely because of its age. And so we're very, very fortunate in that manner. But I think the other element to that is managing maintenance. We maintain a standard and check this and enforce this through quality assurance inspections for preventative maintenance. We have a very well-defined preventative maintenance checklist that all of our operators are required to maintain in order to pass their quality assurance inspections. And I think that's the key element of it, is staying ahead of it. When you've got a defined schedule for the maintenance technicians and the general managers to follow and rely on, that eliminates or mitigates the accidental or the oversights that come into play that create chaos in maintenance. And you know, when, just like in construction, if you've got to make a quick decision, if it's a scenario that you can't plan for or organize or lay out over a period of time, you're going to spend more money addressing it. When you can program it and organize it, you can do it as cost effectively as possible.
You know, speaking of controlling costs with new construction, like labor is just going up, all the materials are going up. What are you guys doing to be able to keep those costs under control so you don't get these bills in the arrears for another million or 2 million.
Yeah.
you see that laugh? That
It's-
laugh means he got that yesterday.
Man, I did deal with exactly that yesterday. That's one of the challenges of having all your franchisees in one spot and having a difficult construction market, is because everybody wants to talk about it, and we're all trying to help each other figure out how to address that question. Again, a common theme that you'll find with us is that consistency and repetition that precipitates reliability. And so one of the things that was said out loud and very intentionally developed into our development and construction programming was, I want to do the same thing in every location that we do it as much as humanly possible, so that every time we do it, we theoretically should get better, right? And so we avoid the budget overruns and the unexpected things by just doing the same thing over and over again. And by virtue of that, we find that the subcontractors and the suppliers that get involved in our projects, they can program it as well. They know they can rely on us to do the same thing in the next location and the next location, and so it's easier for them to be okay with traveling along with us. We've got some subcontractors that have worked underneath our construction company on projects since the very beginning. There's still relationships we've had, and they've done projects from Alaska to Florida, from Pennsylvania to California, and so it's very rewarding to have those kinds of relationships, and even inside of those, the costs have gone up over the last few years, but not in the same manner or to the same degree as a lot of people's have. And so I'm excited about this new prototype that we launched here at convention, because it gives us some added functionality and some greater value in some certain areas of the hotel, but it doesn't substantially change the plans and the means and the methods and the inputs. And so by and large, we're going to be able to continue that same programming that we've had and insulate ourselves from too rapidly rising costs.
Nice. Now we're gonna get into some personal questions. How many times have you had a vendor really try you? Like, you know what, on pricing, and you have to come on, man, better than this.
One of the most challenging vendor negotiations that I've ever been involved in. Well, I'd say all of the most challenging vendor negotiations that I've been involved in surround putting these conventions up. You want to talk about how expensive services are. You get into these things and you really have to be watching close. But, we have a really great team. So Matt Campbell, our COO, Sarah Dinger, our EVP, the two of them, and of course they have great teams underneath them, delegates that get involved in this process. So they're mechanical, they're detail oriented, they're bought into what we do, and so we really approach those types of things in a collected front. So I think that's important. You organize your team and you identify the strengths in each one of those people. And so in certain scenarios, Sarah will be out front and Matt and I will layer in after her to try to prevent those situations where the vendor comes at you and is getting out of hand.
Yeah.
So multiple layers of negotiation and a deep understanding of the product helps a lot. But I'd say some of the most challenging vendor conversations and some of the bigger negotiations that were required to be implemented happen in the construction side of the business.
Yeah.
That's really where those big deals go north and south. So in operations, it's more streamlined, and we got a great group of vendors that we work with that don't take a whole lot to manage.
Yeah, I remember I got a water heater installed, and I guess they got the orders confused, and instead of installing one of those commercial grade $10,000 water heaters, they installed the water heater from Home Depot. So they had to come back out and redo the whole thing all over again. I'm like, I know they did not just try to.
Yeah. Those are. I'm fortunate that we have some great operations teams out there, and management folks that are able to handle those types of situations, because I'm sure we've had the same thing happen at least once.
Yeah, like for you, like in the beginning, you're in construction, you're building your prototypes, you're building out your hotels, and I know there had to be like some moments where like, you know what, I'm just gonna do this myself. Like, I'm not gonna let you take advantage of me. I'm gonna just do it myself and call it a day.
I had on the first 2 hotels, we built them in tandem to one another. They were a couple months apart from one another, and in the same geographic region. And so when we were buying out the projects, we were negotiating bids and things at the same time, and sort of leveraging the 2 properties together to see if we could get some better pricing. One aspect that we were having a difficult time on was the FF&E installation at the end, and there was another hotel being built in one of the markets, and I went down to the project and pulled onto the site, and looked like they were at about that stage, and ended up talking to this guy, and he says, well, yeah, I'm doing the FF&E installation and the millwork and everything else. I said, hey, you want to bid my project? Sure, yeah, I'd love to. Okay, so got him the plans. A few days later, he comes back, he gives me a bid. His bid's like $160,000, 64 rooms. I'm like, whoa,
Wow.
this is over the top. And he's like, oh, you don't understand. It's going to take me this and this and this and this to do this. And I got these guys, and here's how we're going to do it, and here's how long it's going to take. And I said, okay, run me through that. How many guys are you going to have? How many days are you going to be on site? I'm providing all of the product here, so what you've got is consumables. And so we're not planning for a lot of materials on your budget. So walk me through that. And he did, and told me all about it. And we had a great conversation about this. It wasn't tense. It was just, I don't understand how you're coming up with this number. It doesn't make sense. So I said, I'll get back to you tomorrow. I went home, and I put a spreadsheet together with the information that he gave me, and I kind of played it out and said, okay, here's where it should be. I came up with about $65,000, about $1,000 a room at the time, which would be fantastic to find today. And I got back together with him the next day, and he said, oh, I can't do it for that much. And I said, well, here, let me show you my spreadsheet. Here it is. And I walked him through every line of it. Within 15 minutes, we were done. He was going at it with my number, and he ended up doing the first, 12 or 15 hotels for my place at that same number.
Wow.
And it was a real eye opener for me on how do you ensure that you're buying the work as best you can. Well, the only way you can do that is to know what goes into it. This guy, although he was doing the work, didn't have any clue what actually went into it, or didn't have any clue how to quantify what actually went into it. And I helped him with that, and he helped me with the project, and we had a really great relationship for quite a while. And then, unfortunately, he got out of the business, and so we're still working with some of the guys that were on his crew. They work for another company, and so
that's an amazing story.
That was a good one. I'd say that's probably, in the vein of a vendor or somebody, testing your limits and seeing how astute you are.
So like over 12 hotels, you saved about $1 million.
Right.
And had you not did your research and just thought this through, took 5 minutes to think it through, it would have cost you $1 million.
Right. Well, it also created, I think the number's substantially larger than that, because it created the basis understanding for what goes into those hotels, and we're still building the same hotels today. I mean, obviously a product here and there have changed, maybe a layout in a room or something has changed, but overall it's really the same model. And so as I look at every project that we do in our construction company today, and as I guide franchisees and their contractors through the process of introducing them to my place, we set expectations not at the same prices we were back then, but on the same basis, with the same understanding of the detailed list and how long it should take to get a project completed. So $1 million over the first 2 years, just in that one scope of work, and then go beyond that, it's multi-millions of dollars over 75 properties. So
Yeah.
So, or 77 or 8 or what, the number of under construction properties and open properties are above 80, and so it's a lot. And I hadn't really thought about it that way. But.
Yeah, that is crazy. So that means he saved some franchisees some serious coin, because that always get passed along to the franchisee. So it's kind of hard to find someone that has your back like that. But that's the difference when you actually own hotels and you're a franchisee and franchisor.
Right.
Like you wouldn't do that to yourself, so why would you do it to someone else?
Exactly right. Yeah.
Wow. Tell everybody how they can save on costs with dealing with vendors in FF&E, because we get like these crazy stories all the time.
So I think it's important to test the product, and that might not seem like there's a direct relationship between testing the product and finding efficiency in the cost. But when you take a recliner chair for a guest room, for example, you know what you're going for is comfort for the guest experience. You know what you're going for is quality of the build and finishes that are going to last as long as possible. When you take that product in and you test it, you generally find a deficiency in one or two of those areas.
Yeah.
And so it allows you to make a decision on, like we were talking about earlier with roofs. Do you spend more money up front knowing that it's going to last longer? Spend less money up front knowing that you're going to replace it more frequently? Where's the efficiency in that? And I think it's important to evaluate that some products are more efficient to replace more frequently and spend less on. Not all, but some. And so for us, in continually managing product development, and product development means not just developing new products or implementing new products, it means observing, testing, and measuring the success or the performance of the products that we currently have, and developing our understanding of how long are they going to work for, how much should they cost us to maintain, and so on. I think that's the best way to find the efficiencies. Now, when you get down to dealing with the vendors, also when you test the product, when you've sat in it, when you've tried to take a nap in it, when you've put it in the office lobby and told everybody to try it out just to see what all the different comments were, again, you understand it more. You understand their product in some cases better than they understand their product, and come from a better platform of negotiating to maintain the costs and to come to a mutual agreement on value. And so I think that's really the start. Beyond that, there's a lot of people that like to, spread it out and buy this product from this vendor and this product from this vendor and this product, and they're comfortable that they're saving money because they're finding the cheapest one all over the place. That's not always the best idea.
No,
either.
because that stuff would be dead and gone in a year. Like,
Yeah,
it starts
and-
falling apart on you.
And you spend a lot of time, and for all of us who are in business, our time is valuable. And if you're not valuing your time appropriately, you're not doing things efficiently.
Yeah, a lot of times it costs you more in labor just to replace it versus just paying extra dollars and just getting something that's gonna last.
Right.
That's nice. Before we close out, we got a new model out. I was hoping you could talk a little bit more about the new model and what it's going to bring to the market.
I'd love to. As I said earlier, we're very happy with the design of our buildings. We're very happy with the prototypes that we've been running with, and we're really continuing that. The new prototype versions that we put out are bridging some gaps. They're improving some areas that we've already been successful at. So how do we take it a step further? One of the things that I'm most excited about is, and the biggest change actually that we've made since inception, was to launch a new room type. We've moved into adding the My Place Business Suite to the lineup, and it's going to be a great opportunity for our loyalty members to see opportunities to get upgraded as they stay and accumulate points and status within the program.
Nice.
It's going to be a great opportunity for our operators to provide a second option for the discerning guests, and also see maximization of RevPAR inside of that too.
Beautiful.
So I'm really excited about it. We're going to see the first ones opening in 2025, and we'll do a lot of talking and invite people over to come and look at what we did.
Okay, you may see that one on Hotel Management Do's and Don'ts. We may open that one. That may be the season opener.
There you go.
Well, listen, thank you for coming to the show. Tell everybody how they get in touch with you.
Visit us at myplacehotels.com. Give us a call. Reach out on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. We're paying attention to them all and would love to talk to you.
All right, and this is Bruce Jordan, the Michael Jordan Hotels, signing out. Thank you for joining us for another show.
Thanks, Bruce.
Anytime.